All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Before I start, I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wahab, Wakakwadash, Yahweh, which is the one true name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one true name is Yahweh Shai. I would like to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I've learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, and shalom to you, sincere brothers scattered abroad, pushing forth this word in truth and sincerity. I am your brother Mashiach Irazakah from the Servants of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai Camp, Las Vegas, Nevada branch. And pretty much this lesson is going to be titled as Be Aware of False Prophets. All right, be aware of false prophets. All right, and Lord willing, this lesson is edifying, and pretty much we're going to go into the meaning of what is a false prophet. All right, it says false prophet, meaning false prophet in religion. All right, it says a false prophet is a person who falsely claims the gift of prophecy. It says or divine inspiration, or to speak for God, or who makes such claims for evil ends. And that's a false prophet, saying things that's not, saying things that's contrary to the scriptures, teaching things that is not in the Bible. That's a false prophet, you know. And, the Lord Yahweh Shai, he told his apostles about these false prophets in his time. So it's the same thing that is attained now. You have false prophets dwelling on the earth. You have false prophets dwelling amongst Israel. All right. This is Matthew 17, 7 and 5, 7 and 15. Salakia. Matthew 7 and 15. I'm being distracted. It says, beware of false prophets. See, it says, beware of false prophets, which comes to you in sheep's clothing. Right. So just because a dude has a fantastic, nice garment on, he has a perfect beard, he has a fro. All right, that doesn't mean that he's a man of the Lord. Just because he has a nice garment, just because he's holding a Bible in his hand and he has a nice shaped beard and he has a nice shaped fro, that doesn't mean that he's a prophet of the Lord. He could be a false prophet, because it all matters on the doctrine. All right, what a particular individual is teaching. And if he's not teaching the doctrine of Great Millstone, because Great Millstone Hebrew Israelites have the 100% truth. And I said this many times before, and I'll say it again in my lesson. All right, I highly recommend you, or I highly advise you to follow only one camp. And that camp is Great Millstone. All right, because these other Israelite groups that's not under the banner of Great Millstone, that's not a follower of Great Millstone, that's not in Great Millstone, is teaching false doctrine. And a lot of those Israelite groups are under the 501c3 charter. So you don't want to follow those individuals that's not teaching the same doctrine as Great Millstone teach. All right, they teaching that the MOTB is a cell phone. They teach that the MOTB is spiritual. All right, you got Jakes out there teaching that, the MOTB is having drugs in your hand. Those are individuals that you do not want to follow. All right, because those men are not men of the Lord. Those are false prophets. All right, so you want to follow the men of the Lord. Matthew 7 and 15. It says, beware of false prophets, because you have them out there, which come to you in sheep's clothing. So again, just because a dude has a nice garment on and he has a nice shaped beard with a nice shaped fro, that doesn't mean that he's a man of the Lord. He could be a false prophet. All right. It says, but inwardly, they are raving wolves. Right. They're false prophets. They're basically doing this thing for self-gain, vainglory. All right. The riches of the earth. They're doing this for the riches of the earth. Not the riches to receive the kingdom, but the riches of the earth. Everything here, they, basically signed under the 501c3 for basically money gain. They're not in this truth for the Lord, because if they were in the truth for the Lord, they wouldn't be teaching the doctrine that they teach, which is contrary to the scriptures. 2 Peter 2 and 1. It says, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you. And that's what's going on right now amongst Israel. You got false prophets out there. All right. You have false prophets. If a dude is teaching something different from Great Millstone, because you got a lot of these simple jakes, they'll listen to all the groups, even Great Millstone. They'll listen to all the groups and put Great Millstone in there. All right. Now they'll be listening to Great Millstone for a minute, but then they get tired of hearing the same old thing. So they'll go and listen to another camp, and they're teaching something different. So now the individual that was following Great Millstone, he hears something different. Now to him in his own mind is that that's something new. So he goes and he takes on that theory, all right, what is being said, and put it in his spirit. So now he has a totally different doctrine. Now he got two different doctrines. Then he goes back to learn from Great Millstone, and then now he's confused because Great Millstone is teaching something different from that particular group. That's why you want to follow only one camp. You don't want to follow a different group and follow Great Millstone, because Great Millstone is not teaching the same doctrine as a different group. All right. Now, if that group is under the banner of Great Millstone, okay, that's cool, because they teaching the same exact doctrine. But if you following a group that's not teaching the same doctrine, and a lot of individuals say, how do I know if they are teaching the same doctrine? Again, if a dude is teaching that the MOTB is spiritual and not physical, he is not a man of the Lord. He's a false prophet. If he's teaching you that the MOTB is a cell phone, he's a false prophet. If he's teaching you that you can have sex on the Sabbath, he's a false prophet. Things like that. You just got to really look at those things. It says, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in a damnable heresies. And what is a heresy? A liar, a person that lies. All right? They tell lies. It says, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So these false prophets, they already have a lot set up for themselves. The Lord already gave them their lot. These false prophets, if they don't repent, and come to the truth and correct themselves, the Lord is going to destroy them. They're going to be destroyed with thermonuclear fire. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to receive the righteous judgment of the Lord. All right. So these false prophets, they have it coming to them. So again, you don't want to be following every single Hebrew Israelite group. Salakia. You don't want to be following every single Hebrew Israelite group, because they're not all teaching the same doctrine. You want to follow one group. All right, and that group is Great Millstone. Because, I may get this too. I say this all the time too, because it's true. I might get a comment on my comment board, and an individual say, well, why does it matter who we follow? All the Hebrew Israelite groups is the same. No, they're not. They're not all the same. All the Hebrew Israelite groups are not the same. And they'll come and say some slick shit like, oh, all the elders came out of One West. That's true. All the elders did come out of One West, but they not all teaching the same doctrine. All right. You got Israelite groups that teach that don't teach the MOTB. You got jakes that don't teach that. You got jakes out there that don't teach about spiritual power, which we're going to receive. You got jakes out there that speak against spiritual power, that the elect is going to receive spiritual power. You got jakes that speak against that. You got Israelite groups that speak against that. All right. So there's a lot of confusion out there, and you got to know who has 100% truth and who don't. All right. So you want to follow Great Millstone only. Don't follow all those other groups, because they're not all teaching the same doctrine. This is what Yahushua said. Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets. All right. False prophets. It says, and shall show great signs and wonders in so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Right, because the Lord has it already set up. The Lord already works in perfect balance. The Lord has true prophets set up, and he has false prophets set up. The false prophets is to deceive those that, the Lord has it set up to deceive those, those 2/3, and the Lord has the true man of the Lord set up for the elect. That's exactly what I was going to say. Salaki. So the false prophets is set up for the 2/3. All right. And then the true prophets is set up for the elect. All right. So you have false prophets set up for a reason. They have a lot to fulfill. All right. Everyone has a lot to fulfill, including myself. So it's best to follow Great Millstone. Don't follow all those other groups. All right. Because a lot of these groups is false prophets. Romans 16 and 18. For they, see, it says, for they that are such serve not the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, but their own belly. And that's what a lot of these groups is doing. They're doing all these things for vainglory. You got all these Israelite groups that's under the 501c3. They doing this all for vainglory. It says, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. And that's what they're doing. They're deceiving you. They're having you believing that they have the truth when they don't. All right, you got groups out there completely going off on the scriptures, man. ISUPK be going off on Revelations 8. They were going off on that. You know, Revelations 9, I think. They're going off on Revelation 9. All right, breaking it down. Captain Tazaryak of ISUPK was going off on Revelation 9. He wasn't even breaking it down right. He was going off on the scriptures. So you don't want to be following those groups because they don't have the correct breakdowns. They don't have the 100% truth. They don't. And if you're a dude that say no man has 100% truth, hey, the Lord ain't dealing with you. Because it's simple. Your Great Millstone does have 100% truth. This is Ezekiel 13 and 1. It says, and the words of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel that prophesy, and say thou unto them that prophesy out of their own hearts. Because that's what a lot of these Israelite groups is doing. All right? Those groups that's outside of Great Millstone, that's teaching a different particular doctrine. Because not all the groups is teaching the same doctrine. You got groups out there teaching a totally different doctrine. Them individuals that sold out under the 501c3, they prophesying out of their own minds. All right? It says, hear ye the word of the Lord. It says, verse 3, thus saith the Lord power, woe unto the foolish prophets that follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. Right? Because that's what these dudes are doing. They teaching false doctrine. All right? They're not teaching, they teaching contrary to the scriptures. They're teaching false doctrine. They're not teaching the 100% truth. They're not doing any of that, man. All right? We're going to skip down to the main point. Verse 6, it says, they have seen vanity and lying divinations. It says, saying, the Lord saith, and the Lord have not sent them. It says, and they have made others to hope that they would conform the word. Verse 7, it says, have ye not seen a vain vision, and have ye not spoken a lying divination? Or as ye say, the Lord saith, and albeit it have not spoken. Verse 8, therefore thus saith the Lord power, because ye have spoken vanity and seen lies, therefore behold, I am against you, saith the Lord. Right. And if you're teaching false doctrine, you're an individual that's doing that, you could be destroyed for teaching false doctrine. You could be destroyed for that. You adding and taking away from the word, you could be destroyed for that. Revelations 22:18 into verse 19 goes into that. You add and take away from the word, all right? You could be destroyed for that. All right? So, hey, man, you want to avoid these false prophets. I highly recommend you, and again, recommend you to follow Great Millstone. So don't follow all them other groups. All right? Follow only Great Millstone. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Till the next time, I say shalom.